I don't know if my destiny has always been to die on the 17th of June, 2022. I don't, and so whatever I've done, I can't say to people now, do what I've done, you'll live longer. I can't say that because I may have made no difference to my life. In fact, I may have even shortened it by some of the things I've done. I don't know that. But what I do know is that by, in my mind, trying to take some control and not just be on some destination train where I don't ever try and get off and I might look out the window but not change anything, that doesn't do you any good. All that does is make you sad. All you look at is the destination. And what I've done, I've been on that train and every time I've gone to a station, I've pressed the button to get off. And in fact, I've got off in between stations as well and done things. So yes, I'm more healthy in my diet. I do Chinese medicine, so I have 32 herbs twice a day. I have a thing called reishi mushroom powder. If you Google it, you'll see that historically they're deemed to have some very good immune boosting, cancer fighting properties. Maybe, no one's ever done a big study on it, so they don't know. But that's what they do. I have acupuncture. I totally get the beating heart bit. The Chinese medicine is all based around your qi, which is your life, which is your blood flow. And the view is if your blood flows faster, then you'll take the rubbish away and the natural filters will get rid of the rubbish. So if you think about that as a principle, which kind of makes sense, that's why, in most countries of the world, they encourage you to do 10,000 steps a day.
Week Outdoors Nation, every day of the week I get to talk to somebody who is inspirational and who is conquering their version of Mount Everest. For some people, it's a literal going up Mount Everest. Other people, it's running across deserts. And other people, well, they conquer something way bigger. And today's guest is, well on his way to conquering something miraculous. Mr. Kevin Webber, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me.
No worries. So I want to start, mate. 7 years ago, you were given 2 years to live, and now I'm talking to you. That's flipping remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, I was 49 years old. Life was kind of good as far as I was concerned. And I started getting up in the night for a wee. Didn't think much of it. Had a few other sort of very minor changes below the waist that weren't causing any real problems. But I went to the doctors. And that's what most men don't do. And that's the thing. Message number one for people listening is, if you ever have a change in your body you don't understand, go to the doctors. So I went to the doctors thinking I was going to be wasting his time. Just thought, 49 years old, I'm healthy, and had a blood test and what I now call the doctor's special handshake. And went back a week later for the results. And he said, look, the chances are you've got some markers that say you might have prostate cancer. So I then had 2 horrible months of tests and a very nasty biopsy that you have to go through. And on the 6th of November, sat in a room with my wife to be told by a doctor that my prostate cancer had spread outside of the prostate to other parts of my body. And as such, it's called metastatic prostate cancer. And as such, it means that it will kill me. And statistically, I might only live 2 years. If I was lucky, I lived 3 to 4 years. So you can imagine lots of tears. I was 49 thinking I was going to die at 80 plus, and suddenly I'm 49 thinking I won't make 52. And it wasn't just about me, because of course, I was sad about my life, but my youngest son was 9 years old, so I thought he'd have no dad by age 11. My wife was under 50. I thought, she won't have a husband. And, that wasn't the deal. I didn't have kids to leave them, like abandon them. I didn't get married to my wife because I wanted not to be with her. And so that caused a lot of sadness. More sadness, actually, about the loss of my own life was the damage I would do to theirs.
It's funny, isn't it, that we view things through different lenses. I did die in 1998. I actually drowned and got resuscitated. And when I think about that now, what were the thoughts as I was drowning? It was nothing about me. It was nothing about people say I've got so much potential and so much to do and I. Actually, the thoughts as I knew what was losing consciousness, it was the, oh, effing hell. It's actually everybody else who matters more than I do. And it changes your perspective on the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd like to think I wasn't a bad guy before I was ill, but it just has made me, I think, more appreciative of everything, not just, I haven't turned into a tree hugger, but I have a far more appreciation of all life. Silly things, if I was out running before and there was a slug on the paving slab and my foot was going to land in that particular space, it would land in that space and the slug would be no more. Whereas now, I think I haven't got what right have I got just to go and kill that slug? So I move my foot 3 inches as I land and I don't kill it. And it's that kind of simple choice that we have every day in everything we do. So it's not stop running because I might hurt an animal, but it is actually when I am out running, let's just think about how we can conserve things, be it animals or plants or trees. I try not to run across, in the UK, we have lots of national trails that are heavily trodden down. So they put slabs of concrete or slabs of stone on them. And of course, then people I don't like walking on the stone, I'm going to walk on the mud. But the whole reason is having the stone there is to stop you walking on the mud because you're deteriorating, damaging the land. So I kind of like to do my bit, small as it might be, and make sure I follow the rules because the rules are generally there for a good reason.
Mm. Have you found that your appreciation of time has changed since how it was before your diagnosis to how it is now?
Yeah, I guess there's a great song by Pink Floyd called Time. And, I implore people to, if they haven't heard the song, is to listen to that song and listen to it slowly and listen to the words and maybe even pull the words up on like Google the words or something, because it just talks about perfectly age and time. And when you're young, you think you've got time to kill and there's no need to do anything and you can worry about it tomorrow sort of thing. And then it says, and then one day 10 years have got behind you. And that's exactly what happens in everyone's life. In my case, suddenly that I've only got 2 years made me realise that life is now and every day is a gift. So whilst I'm still playing and I still look forward to things I might hopefully be able to do next week, next month, maybe even next year if I'm very brave in my thoughts, I don't ever waste today. You'll never have today again. Today will be gone. So if you want to sit there and watch telly all day, that's fine. That's your planned day if you want to do that. But if you waste the day and pop around the house and don't do anything, you'll look back later in life and say, well, I wish I hadn't done it all the time. Well, things I wanted to do, never did them. And then people use the excuse, I never had the time. They had the time, they just wasted it. We have the time for most things, wasted too much.
And it's amazing how time slips through your fingers without you realizing it, when time can just evaporate, can't it? As you said, 10 years can be behind you and you're not too sure how it happened.
Exactly. I mean, when I was first diagnosed, I work in London and I was walking across Trafalgar Square where Nelson's column is, and on the pavement, they often have pavement artists that do nice pictures and things. And it was like 6:30 in the morning and there was the last night's detritus of whatever it was the night before. And on the pavement in chalk was written, you only have 2 lives and the second one starts when you realise you only have one. And I had to stop. And I read it about, 10 times. I stood there about 5 minutes just thinking what it meant. And of course, that's the whole point. We all go through life, and I did as well, thinking that we have 2 lives, thinking that I'll do that tomorrow. In my next life, I'll do that. I'll do that when I've got, when I'm married, when I'm older, when I've got the money, whatever it might be. But the reality is you've only got one life. So you just do it now. You don't wait. You say, well, actually, in my current circumstances, if it's important, what can I do today? And if you can't do it in your current circumstances and you really, really want it, then you have to change your circumstances. No point saying, well, I always want to do that, but I can't because I'm stuck here. Well, just don't be stuck here. Just do something. And if you don't change that, then in my mind, you didn't really, really want it. So people often say, I want to do this, I want to do that. And then they never do it. And then I would argue with them, well, actually, you never really wanted to do it, did you? It's just a thought. If you really want to do something, you do it. And it's like bucket lists. A lot of people have got bucket lists. They might have a bucket list of death, as in, I must do it before I die, or a thing before I'm 40 or 30 or 50, whatever it might be. They're one of my hated things. Your bucket list should be 1 or 2 things, 1 or 2 things that are absolutely impossible to do today, but in a different set of circumstances, then you might be able to find the money, the time, the support to do it. So when someone says, on my bucket list, I want to get a tattoo, I kind of can't compute. Why have you got to wait until you're dying to have a tattoo? If you really want one, just go and have it done. I mean, nothing's stopping you.
It's 100 quid. It's 100 quid spent, and you're done and dusted today.
Exactly. And yet people, oh yeah, I always wanted one of those, and so I think I'll do that when I'm 50. Well, if you're 42 now, just do it now, just in case you never get there. It won't be a tick off the list. I wanted to go skydiving. Tick off the list. Don't wait until you're 50 or whatever age to go and do it, because you might never have the chance. So those things, and that also is about stuff that you might regret. So that's not just bucket list things that are fun. They're things about if you've fallen out with someone. I'm very lucky. I've never fallen out of my family. But if you fall out of your family and it happens, sadly, or a good mate, it's never the right time to put it right is now. Don't think, well, maybe I'll send them a card at Christmas and I'll phone them up and see if they're okay. Just don't let it get to that stage. Even if it means eating humble pie, even if it means backing down on somewhere where you're right, you should still make a decision, because later in life you'll only regret it if something happens and you can never actually get back together again. So, one of my mentors is never create a new regret. So whatever, when you live today, never ever create something that you will look back on tomorrow and regret. And that even means 15 pints of beer tonight, because you'll regret that as well. So it's just kind of even a silly thing. It hasn't got to be really a massive thing. Just silly things, words said, deeds done, deeds not done, time wasted, time spent. You don't want to regret those tomorrow. So one of my friends said, when you go to bed at night, you put your head on the pillow and with a sort of clear conscience about what you did today was the right thing. And I said to him, that's fine. But you need to go one step further. And as you're doing those things and think forward 5 years and saying 5 years' time, will I still feel the same? Because sometimes we think we've done the right thing today, but if you actually plot forward what the consequence of that might be, the consequence might be something that maybe isn't so good. So it's almost like building a house on bad foundations. Look at me today, I built a nice house. 5 years' time, it falls down because it floods. That's a silly example, but that principle should be in everything we do in our lives.
I agree. And I think I was interviewed on TV on Monday, and we were talking, within the interview, we were talking around time, and I was saying, if there was one thing I could teach people, it was to look into their crystal ball for 3 to 5 years into the future. And everybody has a crystal ball, and it's not hocus pocus. It's just joining logical facts together against most likely outcomes. And if you can do that, you actually can be far more successful and far happier, because you actually can fully understand the implications of today. And it's like, I was playing with the idea of compound interest. The slight negative thing you do today will get progressively more negative and grow over a period of time. But equally, the small positive things that you do equally can, maybe the smile or the handshake or the how are you today or the whatever it is, that can grow over a period of time as well. And I wonder whether we all live our lives on autopilot too much and not conscious enough of what we're doing and how to make a genuine difference in our world for the future by just doing small, easy, positive things today.
Yeah, I work for NatWest. I've been working for NatWest Bank for 40 years. And my current job, because they've been extremely kind to me, is I'm an ambassador for a thing we have internally for our staff. It's called Do Good, Feel Good. And the principle is if you do something good, you feel good about it. And that kind of culminates in a 2-week rah-rah every year where everyone goes out sailing and running and raising loads of money, which is fantastic, absolutely fantastic. But as I've got to sort of know and love that mantra, I've started to realise that Do Good, Feel Good is actually the way we all should live our lives. Forget the bank. Everyone should live their life through Do Good, Feel Good. And you touched on it already. Do Good, Feel Good isn't just about raising loads of money. It isn't about giving up your time for a very valid project or plant some trees or whatever you want to go and do, because that's all great stuff. But we can't do that every day. What we can do is say thank you and please, and in the queue of traffic, let the car out in front of you and smile. And when the bloke cuts you up in front, rather than give him the bird, instead just shrug your shoulders and get on with it. Because actually, by your action, you're making someone else have a better day. You're not winding someone else up. And people generally pass it on. How many times if you're in a supermarket and you buy something, do you look eye contact with the person that's just flipping your food for you? and say thank you very much and give them a smile, because that makes their day. And in coronavirus times, some people are still quite restrictive of where they go. They deliberately don't go and meet big crowds. So if I run a lot, so if I'm out running and I see someone on their own, I always smile and always say good morning or good afternoon. It might be the only person that talks to them all day, because they might get home, they might live on their own and sit back and watch telly. So that's my chance to make their day slightly better.
It's interesting. A couple of years ago, I got involved with the recruitment and interviewing of some CEOs for some quite large corporations. And the thing I most cared about was how they arrived to the interview and how they treated the person who guarded the car park and the receptionists. And when they sat in reception, what did they choose to use that time for? But where they're waiting to be welcomed to the building and go through to the interview itself. Because we ended up with a time where, everybody says the same thing in an interview. It's people are very, very, very similar. And often their qualifications and experiences are very, very, very similar. But that's great. So then how do you differentiate? And for me, it's, do you really care what the cleaner and receptionist is doing today and how they're feeling? That's the thing that makes the difference. Not whether you've got an MBA and 2 decades of C-suite experience or something like that.
Yeah, the era of, there was a time, and it was a bad time, the turn of the century, I guess, when greed was good. Wolf of Wall Street was the way that most businesses set themselves up. Most businesses were about earn money, don't worry about anything, don't worry about the 5-year thing. You put your head down and you sleep satisfactorily tonight because you've made loads of money and you've made money for your company. You never thought about your client at that stage. That wasn't really in the psyche of a lot of businesses. I'm not saying everyone was that way. Whereas nowadays, from what I see, it's the complete reverse. Now it's actually every day you think, I hope what I did was right today. Did I leave anyone hanging? Did I make sure they were finished? Did I make sure they knew what they were getting, why they were getting it, and they'll be happy with it? And they'll give me like a 5-star review on Amazon sort of thing. That's the way, if you picture ahead your life is, everyone I meet, if they were asked about that interaction with me, will they give me a 5-star review on Amazon? If the answer is not yes, then what could you have done better to have got that extra star? And if the answer is, I should have done something different, can you go back and do it now and get the 5-star? Because we all want to live our lives in a 5-star review world, both of what we do for others and what others do for us.
That's brilliant. Sorry, I've got to write it down. 5-star review Amazon. I like the analogy. I think it's very, 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 very powerful. So, tell me, you were into running before your diagnosis, right? It was a pastime and a hobby, or how seriously were you taking it?
I worked long hours for the bank, like most people do in business, and I guess I was away from home for over 12 hours a day every day. And so I got into running marathons just as a means to stay fit. I wasn't very good, but it just gave me a reason to get home at night and sometimes put on some running shoes and go and run for half an hour. And I'd enter 1 or 2 marathons a year just because, for me, I need a goal. So that was a goal. Just, I've got to keep training because I've got that race in April. And if I don't do it, then I'll be rubbish in the race and won't be able to finish it. And I wanted to kind of put my foot on the start line and give it a good go. And so I did that, but not, I wasn't a serious runner. I think my best ever marathon time, I only ever did one sub 4-hour marathon. So that was 6 months before I was diagnosed with terminal prostate cancer. And that was like 3 hours 48 or something. So that was great, I like that. And then, of course, that spurred me on. I also ran my first ultra marathon that year because I kept on getting injured and I tried to run fast. So I ran 100 kilometres from London to Brighton, and that was opened a whole different world of running for me. Suddenly, you went slower, you talk to people, because when you're doing a marathon, it's very hard if you're actually pushing yourself to talk to people. But suddenly, you're going at a speed where you talk to people, and you got to a checkpoint, and rather than be a run past and grab hold of a cup of water and spill half of it on the floor, it suddenly became a place where you stopped for 2 minutes and had a chat, and someone made you a cup of tea, and it was fantastic, absolutely. So it opened my eyes to a different kind of running, one that you go further, if not faster. And so I was quite excited. So I was looking forward to doing a few bigger events in 2015. And then, of course, the bombshell, November 2014, I get told it's all going to be over soon. And along the way, I was going to have chemotherapy for months, radiotherapy, a bunch of nasty drugs, and then my impression from what I'd read of a year of going downhill and dying. So actually, when I was told I had 2 years to live, actually my life was already over in my mind, because those 2 years were going to be spent just in a grim place. Because I don't know, find me someone that says chemotherapy is a breeze, and you'll be like, happy every day and enjoying life. That's quite a tough gig to find that person. So it got to January, and I started chemo, and it was all the things that you ever dreamt in your worst nightmare about, sickness and hair loss and tongue going black and fingernails cracking and all that sort of stuff. Feeling sick all the time. And the morning after the first chemo session, I got up, and it was grey and cold in January in England. I looked out the window, and the demise had started, if you like. And I thought, I've got a choice now. I can go back to bed, and no one's going to criticise me for that. I can have a duvet month, or I can lie in bed with myself, or I go for a run. And so I put my running shoes on. And bear in mind, I could easily run 20 miles at that point in time. I only managed 3 miles. And I came back absolutely shattered, sick. I ran probably 5 miles an hour, 4.5 miles an hour, so really slow. You'd hardly call it running. People could probably walk as fast as I was running. But I got back absolutely elated that even though cancer had taken away, or was taking away, so much of my life, I could still run. Because when you get told, no matter what's wrong with you, you get told you haven't got long to live, excuse me, the first thing that happens is your ability to dream goes. Because we all have dreams. No matter how old you are, whether you're 5 or 15 or 50 or 70, you have dreams. And one of my dreams is things like, I want to be a granddad. I want to see my daughter get married. I want to retire and drive around Europe in a camper van. All those kind of dreams. So they're not like bucket list things, because they're things you actually will do at the right time. But suddenly someone winging me dead in 2 years. Well, my daughter was 16 at the time, and my sons were 14 and 9. And I thought, well, I'm dead in 2 years. She won't be married. Probably won't be a granddad. I'll never see my son's, my 9-year-old's 16th birthday. I'll never see my daughter's 21st birthday. I'll never retire with my wife and go, all this hard work I've done all my life, all this pension I've accrued, I'm never going to spend it. Great for my wife, but for me, so all those dreams go. And suddenly by running again, I got home, and instead of what's the point of anything, which was the negative mantra in my head to that moment in time, it started becoming, well, if I can run, I might as well buy a running magazine. I might as well go on a website and learn about stretching and diet and new kit, because I looks like I can run for a bit. So I've got a nice new pair of shiny shoes. I have that. And then, so suddenly that one act of going for a run day one after chemo sparked the whole, actually, I can live for 3 months. The next 3 months, I'm going to be alive. I'm going to be able to run. Don't know how good the running will be. If I can run, let's find someone to run. Let's find a nice little trail, or let's find someone to run with. Let's find a running club. Let's find a little race. Dare I enter a 5K park run race, that sort of stuff. And you and suddenly I came home, instead of being the miserable, I'm going to die Kev, I was, I'm going to live, Kev. I'm going to live that tomorrow. I'm living. I'm going for a run tomorrow. I've planned it. I'm going out. No one's going to stop me. And it was still only 3.5 miles or 4 miles, but I'd been for a run. And that whole day was, instead of being a negative, I'm going to die day, it was I've lived today. And that started me realizing that, every day is a gift. And I'm not trying to say to people they have to run, because if you don't like running, don't do it. But if you like walking, go walking. And if you want to play the guitar, play the guitar. If you want to learn how to cook better, go and get a cookbook and cook better. I don't understand where people watch a TV program and go, I wish I could bake. You can bake. It's not difficult. It just means you've got to practice. And if you don't want to practice and you don't really want to learn how to bake better, do you? So whatever it is that makes you happy, do it. Make yourself happier. Read that book. Make that phone call. do that thing that learn to speak Spanish if you want to. Don't stop. Buy the CD, do it online, and learn and make yourself happy in the process, because that's something you always wanted to do. So you do it, and then you get that bit of satisfaction. So there I was running on chemotherapy, and I'd already entered the Brighton Marathon before I was ill. And I thought, and I don't think people would ordinarily enter a marathon on chemotherapy. I do understand that, but I was already in it. Paper. And I said to the doctor, I'll do it. And he was like, right, I don't even do that. And I said, to go and find someone else that's done it, and I couldn't. People have run marathons on chemo. People have run marathons with prostate cancer. But I couldn't find anyone that had run a marathon of my kind of chemo with my kind of cancer. So I just thought, well, I'm just going to have to keep plodding on. So I kept on sort of running further and further, and some days were easy, and some days were nigh on impossible. And it got to the day of the race, and I put my foot on the start line, and that was, just to be there was emotional. It didn't matter. I hadn't finished at that point in time. I was there. I didn't think I'd ever get to put my foot on the start line when I sat in that room on the 6th of November, and here we are, April, 6 months later, and I'm there. And I ran it, and I was 50 minutes slower than the year before. It was my fastest ever marathon the year before, and now it was my slowest ever marathon as well, in a year. And, I visualised, and this is quite a good trick for people, when I was struggling with my training. I remember one day it was chucking it down with rain, February, cold. I just got a big splash by a lorry that had gone past in the puddle, and I stopped and burst into tears. The drugs and one and stuff make me quite emotional. And I'm standing, I can't go on. And I stood there, and I thought, I've got to walk home anyway. And then I visualised what it was like to cross the finish line, because I'd done the race before. And I visualised my arms in the air with the shirt on, crossing the line with the crowds there, my wife there maybe. And I thought, I want to do that. I want that vision to be true. And that's it. And that was enough. Boom. And many times in my life when I've been struggling with something, if you visualise the positive outcome that you're going to create, it kicks you up the backside and makes you realise, actually, just keep on going now. If I really, if you really want it, if I really want the arms in the air moment, I will change something now. So I finished that marathon, and then I got a friend gave me an unofficial last-minute place. I ran as someone else in the London Marathon. Now, you're not allowed to do that. It's terrible. Naughty. But hey, I was thinking, what are they going to do? I'm dying anyway. So they're cool, aren't they? And if they can, I'll enjoy them. My day in court too. So I ran as someone else. It's funny, there's a story that you in London Marathon, you have a chip timing thing on your shoe.
Yep.
And that's so people can track you. And obviously, I couldn't be tracked because the person couldn't be seen to be running, because they weren't. And actually, I was running as a celebrity as well, so that some people might have tried to track that celebrity. So I didn't wear the tracker, and I did the race, and actually I finished 12 minutes faster than I had 2 weeks before. So I was quite pleased about that. But as I came up I was going around the bend towards the finish by Buckingham Palace, I suddenly thought, oh no, the finish every year, they cut it. I've done the London Marathon before. They take off the chip timer because it's like a nice little bit of kit. I was thinking they're going to realise I haven't got mine, and then they're going to make a big fuss, and they're going to try and find out my right time and put me on the, I'm going to get someone in trouble. And I was about 50 yards from the finish, and over the tannoy they announced, because this is the 30th London Marathon, 35th London Marathon, we're going to let you keep your chip timers as a souvenir. So it was like, there is a God, I'm not going to get me or someone else in trouble. So so suddenly that changed my view. Across the line, arms in the air again, absolutely. My wife had been around the corner, just amazing day. And then I saw my doctor again, and he said, well, okay, I can't believe you've done one marathon, let alone two, since I last saw you. And that was week 13 and week 15 of chemotherapy. And so he said, what are you doing now then? And I think he expected me to say, I'm just going to do like 5 kilometre park runs. In the UK, we have these things called park runs where every Saturday, free turn up and jog 5K. And I said, well, no, actually, there's this race I wanted to do since I was 20, but just never thought I'd be able to, time, money, or ability. And now I've got the time, and now I've actually got the money for once, and ability, not quite sure. And he said, what's that? I said, it's a race called the Marathon Des Sables. And he said, oh, what's that then? I said, in really simple terms, a marathon Sunday, a marathon Monday, a marathon Tuesday, double marathon Wednesday, marathon Friday, half marathon Saturday, in the Sahara, 50 degrees heat, carrying everything on your back for the week. So sleeping bag, food, venom pump in case you get bitten by a snake or a scorpion, first aid kit, all that sort of stuff, everything apart from water, in fact, you carry. And he looked at me, he looked and said, why would anyone want to do that, let alone someone in your situation? And we just both burst out laughing, And he looked and said, you're going to do it, aren't you, sort of thing? I said, yeah. So I can't stop you. So, and that was great then, because then we're now in May. That wasn't until the following April. So I had 11 months to train, 11 months to get excited. I actually thought I'd be dead by then. So whilst I paid my money to enter, I didn't think I'd be able to do it, but at least I could dream. I again, putting my foot on the start line for that event meant starting to train. That was the first start line I had to be on. So every day when I go out the front door, sun, rain, shine, snow, whatever, that was actually another start line. Going out there, feeling good about that, buying more new sexy kit. I say, when you do a race like that in the desert, that opens a whole world of new kit you can buy. So I was buying all the colours and sizes and different brands. I loved it. And trying out the dodgy food you have to eat in the Sahara and I went to a few other races along the way, some quite long races. And April 2016, I boarded the plane to Morocco, not in any way convinced I would actually finish the race, but just ecstatic that I was actually going on the plane. And to be there, getting off the plane, here I am, I'm in Morocco. And then the tent mates, and it's an amazing experience. I know there are other races that are probably just as good, but as an experience, one of the best experiences of a race. And then, of course, the next thing, I'll put my foot on the start line, and the next thing, I finished day one, and it's day two, and I'm on day two, and I got to day four, and then I had my wobble. I was about 20 miles in with 32 odd miles to go, and everything was hurting, and it was hot, and I was out of water and blisters and sore shoulders and in tears again. And then I remembered, all these people that sponsored me for Prostate Cancer UK, if I give up now, I'm a fraud. Physically, I can go on. It's a mental thing now. I want to stop because mentally it's hurting. And I thought also, a lot of people with cancer, I'd become their great hope. They were, Kevin, you do it. You prove that you can do these things still, despite a really bad prognosis. So in my head, and then I thought, I want my family to be proud of me. And then I thought, selfishly, I want the bling. I want the medal at the end as well. So, and it kind of, again, kicked myself up. I visualised going home with the medal, raising money, people with cancer saying, Kev, well done, you've inspired me. I wanted to inspire people. Big-headed as it sounds, I had no idea if I could, but I wanted to inspire other people not to give up. Tangentially, when I was diagnosed, I got to know about 20 men diagnosed a year before, a year after me, with the same level of cancer as mine. And they're all dead now, apart from one. And from my knowledge of those people, I didn't know how they lived all their lives. I knew most of them just online in forums. But most of them didn't change their life at all. They didn't change their diet. They didn't increase or change their exercise. In fact, most of them had a worse diet, less exercise, all the bad things in life. And they died. I'm alive still, and the other guy that's alive still, bizarrely, also runs. And he also has changed his lifestyle slightly. I don't mean become vegan. I just mean, if you asked anyone on the street, more vegetables or more meat, they'd probably say, yeah, more vegetables. If you said someone more exercise or less exercise, they'd say, yeah, more exercise. Smoke or don't smoke, they'd say don't smoke. More alcohol or less alcohol, I'd probably say less alcohol. That's all I've done. That's all my choices have been. I don't drink as much. I have more fruit and veg, and I never smoked anyway, and I exercise a lot more. For anyone, that's going to make them stronger. But when you've got some cancer thing on your shoulder, trying to have a go all the time, it makes you fitter and stronger to fight that as well. So all the right choices in my mind. And so, when I got back, I wanted to prove to people that making those choices is good. If I can make those choices and kind of not beat cancer, because it will beat me, but give cancer a run for its money, then in a normal life, don't you want to be as strong and the best you can be? All the dreams people have, a lot of them involve actually still being on the planet and still being fit. So what are you doing today? Your training today is for that dream. So even if you're years old listening to this and you've got a retirement dream at 65, you've got to be fit and healthy to do it. You've got to be here. So every day is the new start line. Every day is the choice of the cake or the apple. The choice of, do I go out for a run today or do I stay at home? Do I have that third beer or do I say actually two's enough tonight? Those are the choices today that will impact your ability to have your dream of the future. Unless your dream, of course, is being really, really fat and dying early, in which case, fill your boots.
Yeah, that's it. Go for your life. You and your mate McDonald's can enjoy yourselves together. It's interesting, as you were talking, I was thinking it makes, if you get, it makes so much sense for the average person today who's got no illness, and extending. It was one of the missed discussions in COVID was around the benefits of, for the average George, eating healthily, exercising, and like boosting your immune system up through just living a good life would help you if you got COVID. But equally, I guess if you do get something like a cancer diagnosis, I can't see how having your heart pumping blood more effectively and efficiently and having more oxygen going around the cells and taking more debris away from cells and having that supported with good hydration, vegetables. Do you think that's been almost the secret to your success over the past additional 5 years that you're playing with?
I don't know if my destiny has always been to die on the 17th of June, 2022. I don't, and so whatever I've done, I can't say to people now, do what I've done, you'll live longer. I can't say that because I may have made no difference to my life. In fact, I may have even shortened it by some of the things I've done. I don't know that. But what I do know is that by, in my mind, trying to take some control and not just be on some destination train where I don't ever try and get off and I might look out the window but not change anything, that doesn't do you any good. All that does is make you sad. All you look at is the destination. And what I've done, I've been on that train and every time I've gone to a station, I've pressed the button to get off. And in fact, I've got off in between stations as well and done things. So yes, I'm more healthy in my diet. I do Chinese medicine, so I have 32 herbs twice a day. I have a thing called reishi mushroom powder. If you Google it, you'll see that historically they're deemed to have some very good immune boosting, cancer fighting properties. Maybe, no one's ever done a big study on it, so they don't know. But that's what they do. I have acupuncture. I totally get the beating heart bit. The Chinese medicine is all based around your qi, which is your life, which is your blood flow. And the view is if your blood flows faster, then you'll take the rubbish away and the natural filters will get rid of the rubbish. So you think about that as a principle, which kind of makes sense. That's why, in most countries of the world, they encourage you to do 10,000 steps a day. Because what they're trying to do is increase your blood flow. In the COVID times, the worst thing people have been doing is doing what we're doing now, sitting at a desk all day on Zoom calls, actually not getting their blood flowing. That's why a good smartwatch will make you move once an hour. It will buzz and say, get up and go. Because if you don't increase your heart rate, then you're getting everything's going to just sort of solidify and go bad. And so clearly walking is better than sitting down. But actually, I always say to people, you have to get clammy. So you haven't got to run. I mean, running's great, but you haven't got to run. But just going for a stroll doesn't actually do that much for your heart rate. It does increase it slightly. You won't burn many more calories off though. But if you walk at a pace that makes you slightly clammy, a bit of sweat just about starting, you'll be amazed, one, how much your heart rate goes up to do that. And secondly, therefore, how many calories you burn in the process. So, people go, oh, yes, I walked 10 miles today, but I'm not getting any thinner. It's because probably two things. One, you didn't walk fast enough until you had a cream cake to celebrate the fact you walked 10 miles. You didn't actually put more calories on than you burnt off. The secret is to actually make sure you go at a faster speed, and the reward is a banana or a carrot, or your ordinary dinner you've had anyway. Don't have an extra something to reward you. I find drinking water is quite good because it kind of it fills you up, and so if I don't want to drink or I want something, a glass of water with some ice in it, I think it's fantastic because if it's nice and cold, you drink that, you can almost close your eyes, you could be drinking anything. That's why I have a pint glass, like I'm in a, because that suits me fine. It makes me think I'm drinking beer or whatever, and I have that water. So anyway, so I did the Marathon Des Sables, and I came back and I realised the impact I had on people, which is, I'm modestly, people started calling me inspirational, and I didn't ever sit comfortably with that. I'm just ordinary carefree. I'm not special. I'm not a fast person. But people started saying that, and I don't like being called inspirational if the person that said it to me doesn't change what they've done, what they're about to do. Because in which case, I'm not inspirational. Inspirational is so people will hear this, they're hearing, oh, that's a nice story, really goes into that, and then carry on exactly as it did before. I'm not inspirational. But if they change their life, no matter how small way, in a better way, because of hearing this, then I'm inspirational. Whether I like that word or not, I have inspired them to do something different, and therefore I'm inspirational. And I now want to be inspirational. But in the sense I've just said, I want to change people's lives for the better. And wherever you are on the good, bad life spectrum, we can all get better. No one's perfect. Absolutely, I'm not perfect. You can always do a bit more, one notch more on the good scale, be it diet, be it exercise, be it how you treat other people. So I kind of like this idea of people giving a few accolades, and work was fantastic. And they said, look, see your family, stay fit, and do some presentations for us. Well, presentations, never done any of those, it'd be interesting. Never liked those. I was a corporate bank manager. I used to hate standing up and doing presentations. And suddenly I loved it because, 1 in 8 men get prostate cancer. It's much, much higher risk if you're black, or if your dad's had it, or uncle or brother had it, or granddad had it. The odds are massively increased. So the good news is, I guess, if you're not of those categories, it's probably 1 in 20. But if you are black, or if your dad's had it, it's probably like 1 in 4. So you really need to understand if a blood relative has had prostate cancer. And so, a man dies, I think, in the UK every 45 minutes of prostate cancer. It's the biggest male cancer in the UK. It's massive. I know. And it's like, and no one, I think if you work that out, that's kind of 30 people a day dying of prostate cancer in the UK. If that was a car crashes, people would be saying we've got to change the law.
Ban cars.
And yet, it's prostate cancer, so what, So we need the money thrown at prostate cancer that's thrown at COVID. Basically, we need, appreciate COVID's the right thing to do right now, but actually, when we kind of resolve it, if that's what the right word is, some of that money needs to come into cancer treatment, and prostate cancer is one of those things. So I wanted to prove to people that you could do this stuff, and I wanted to fundraise. I used to run marathons before I was ill, and I'd raise maybe £1,000 a year. That was great. I was happy with that. I then got ill when I was raising £20,000, £30,000. I think since I've been diagnosed, I've raised £250,000 now. And but I also learned that whilst I can raise so much, I bring friends along with me, and they run with me or join me in events, or even encourage them to do other events for Prostate Cancer UK. They can raise money. So they've raised another £500,000. So between us, we've raised £750,000. And I've actually stopped counting now. So it's actually more than that. I've just stopped counting. And whilst I do these things just for the good of other people, I know it sounds, I want to help other people. I've had loads of things thrown back at me. I've had nice awards. I got a British Empire Medal from the Queen in her birthday honours list, which is, as a Brit who I'm a royalist, to me that's quite a wow sort of thing. I'm a freeman of the City of London, which means I can herd sheep over London Bridge. I have the right to do that now. So
dare you?
Do that. I didn't think, actually, just for a laugh, for a charity thing, to get a load of mates to dress up as sheep and actually have them and herd them across London Bridge just because I'm allowed to them. But just as a sort of publicity stunt. But anyway, so then I thought I've got to do more things. And I got back from the first Marathon Des Sables thinking never, ever, ever again. It was hardcore. And then I thought, maybe. But then I thought, I can't put my family through it. I got back, my wife said, you've got to go and do it again. So that was it. I signed up for the next year. So I've done I did the Marathon Des Sables 4 times. The next 4 years I did it. I then went to the Arctic and the race in Iceland, ran a race similar there. All these races are about 250 kilometres, 50 miles. Albania, Cambodia, a tiny island called Sao Tome on the equator of the coast of Africa. But the finish line is the equator, which is a pretty cool place to finish.
That's awesome, yeah.
So did that. I did where else have I been? Jordan. And then I did twice. I've done this stupid race in the Arctic called the 6633. And basically that was 120 miles non-stop pulling a sledge. You start you start in the Yukon and then you go into the Northern Territories. And it's just, I mean, I've never been so scared in my life as I was there. I was more scared in there than I was having chemo pumped into my arm, because you're on your own. There's 20 people in the race. You don't see anyone after a day because you're all spread out so much. And it's just at night time, I'm constantly worried about wolves, polar bears, moose, Arctic fox, lynx, all that kind of stuff's out there. And whilst I know I'm going to die of prostate cancer, I really would rather die of that than getting eaten alive by a polar bear whilst in my tent. Because you go like 22 hours non-stop, and then you just think, I can't go. And I was hallucinating, hitting the sides of the trail with my sledge. I thought, that's it, I need to stop. So I just literally, you throw a roll mat in the snow, you're in a sort of bivvy bag. I had a tent, but I didn't put the poles up, just climbing this thing. And that's it, you're just lying on your own in the middle of nowhere, absolutely middle of nowhere. And they have support vehicles that come past about every 5-6 hours. So, that's a long time. And in a very similar race the year before, an Italian guy just went a bit doolally in his head and wandered off without his gloves. They found him. He ended up having both hands and both feet amputated for frostbite. Frostbite is the thing out there. And I did the race the first time and I came second in that 120-mile race. And then the second I went out there to do the 386-mile race, which is like 9 days non-stop. I just got so many things wrong. I think I dropped out after day 2 and a bit. I just realised I was freezing cold. I couldn't eat. I bought the wrong shoes. I changed my shoes, and whilst in the UK they were fine, when it's -40, there was no insulation on the bottom. Hadn't even crossed my mind. Stupid thing. Hadn't crossed my mind that these had a really thin sole, and I just couldn't feel my toes. I went to bed for 3 hours shivering, didn't sleep, and couldn't feel my toes, which was just, as I couldn't eat, cold, tired. Yeah, game over. Which I can't get cross about. That was my fault. And so when COVID came, the Marathon Des Sables was cancelled. So, it was cancelled in March, the race was in April. So I thought about it. I thought all that training, and everyone online on Facebook, everyone was like, oh, it's terrible, what a waste of training. I thought, I'm going to do my back garden. Now, my back garden's very 90 metres round, including going down the side of my house around my tiny driveway. So I did 2,600 laps of my back garden, exactly the same as the Marathon Des Sables. So I did like a marathon Sunday, a marathon Monday, double marathon on Wednesday, did all of those things. I had to run on Thursday as well because I was on a bit of a running streak there, and I couldn't have a day off. So I did that, just to prove to people that you can do it. And in the end, I had loads of people virtually joining me in their own gardens for an hour here or half an hour there, just to say, solidarity. It's fantastic. The last day, I had loads of scouts, school kids, people all going, yeah, you know what, we can do this. And then, of course, COVID's still here. Christmas last year, my wife got COVID. I was doing a run around the world with Kev thing, 1,600 people joining me virtually to run around the world on New Year's Eve. And she had COVID, so therefore knows that I had to isolate. So I'm back. I committed to do 3 marathons. So back in the back garden again, doing 3 marathons. I had a COVID test before I started it, got the results after I'd finished the 3rd marathon. I had COVID. So I reckon I might be the only person to run 3 marathons on COVID. In their back garden, I reckon I must be. And then this year came, of course, and the races are back on. Did UK races, and then did my 5th Marathon Des Sables. So in October, I went out there, reasonably well trained for it, all the right kit, And on the night before the race started, having been there for a day and a bit, I started being really ill, like very, very low things. And got to the start line, didn't have my breakfast, ate a bit of it, but not much. And I knew, even not eating enough food, when you've got a marathon in the Sahara to do, you need the energy. I managed 15K, and that was it. Helicoptered off the course. I had 15 drips in my arm afterwards. So I had, 7 litres of fluid, hospital temp for 2 days. I had salmonella poisoning, basically. So I caught that somewhere probably out there. But I spent 10 seconds being sad. 10 seconds was that's about all I spent going, my running streak was over. It ended in, it was day 653 of consecutive days running. And that was like, running streak's over. I'll never start that again. I'm not going to get I've got a tattoo. I only got one tattoo, and it's got a star for every year I've done the Marathon Des Sables, and it's got a space for my 5th star, and it will still be a space. And I thought about that, and it's a shame. Oh, it doesn't matter though, because now I can plan other things, because my running streak was dictating what I was doing, and all bets were off. So I remember lying there feeling really ill, but thinking, right, okay, when I get back, what should I do? Where do I want to run? What places do I want to go to? What should I do next year? And it's been great. And I've spent still not 100% now, but I've been planning for what I'll do next year. There's a race I'm doing in January called the Spine Race in England. So it's up a thing called the Pennine Way. It's really cold, hilly. I'm doing a short race, which is 120 miles non-stop. There's a 60-hour time limit. It's pretty tough. Lots of climbing involved. You're carrying about 8-9 kilos. So really looking forward to that, doing some training for that. And then after that, who knows? I've got loads of ideas in my head. Fancy doing a trek to Everest Base Camp, just because I've never been there. I love to climb Everest. I haven't got 100 grand, and I haven't got 2 years to train for it. So that's not going to happen. But base camp's quite possible. I've got a race in Bhutan that I paid for 2 years ago, but I haven't been able to do it because of COVID. So assuming that I'm allowed to travel there in May, then Bhutan in May. And again, all these things, they're my reason today to not drink too much, to eat vegetables. Because it's a bit like smoking. People smoke, they know it's bad for them, but they still smoke. What often makes them give up is something else. They have a child and they go, not about me anymore. It's about, and so bizarrely for me, just having cancer is not necessarily enough for me to change some of my habits. But cancer and running absolutely is. Those two together are a powerful reason to behave in a way that helps me live the best life I can and the longest I can. And that's, again, I'd implore people to find that second reason, because they all know that all the things I've talked about are healthy. That's reason one. But reason two is, why do you want to be healthy?
Yeah.
You need to find the reason why. And the reason why should be family, friends, chasing dreams, even if it's joining 40 years off. Smoking when you're 20 may stop you having the ability to do that thing you want to do, which you won't be able to do until you retire, because you want to spend a year, as an old person driving around somewhere or visiting, all the states in South Africa or whatever you want to do. If today is the day you start playing, no matter how far away it is. And that also means today is the day you start enjoying it. Because today is the day, every step is a step on your ultimate goal. You may not start the official start of the ultimate goal till you get there, but actually every day today, every time you have a banana rather than a cake, is that step in the right direction. I was one of the many stories I like to talk about is when I was out running and I was first diagnosed. I don't always listen to music, but I do sometimes. I tend to listen to music when I'm running places I know really well, because I just get bored otherwise. If I'm running somewhere out in the countryside, I never have music, but locally I do. And on my headphones came a song by Julian Lennon. So Julian Lennon, John Lennon's son from the Beatles. And it's called Saltwater. It's an 80s song. And it's a bit of a tree-hugging, loving song. And I always liked it. And like a lot of songs, you hear the first verse and you hear the chorus. And then you kind of, after that, you don't really listen to the words anymore, but you just come along with the tune. But 2 lines from the end of the song is the killer line. And the killer line is, what will I think of me the day that I die? And I had to stop again. And, what's that? I had to rewind it on my iPod, which is quite difficult, get back to that line again. And it was, that's it. On my deathbed, whenever that might be, I have to think of me that from this moment on, because I can't change what happened yesterday. No point crying over regrets of the past. They're gone. But from now onwards, no more regrets. Be happy. Do the right thing for people. Make people smile. Do good things for charity. Enjoy life for me. So it created these 3 mantras for me. And so number 1, enjoy it every day, but never at the expense of someone else. Number 1. Number 2, make the best memories for me, my family, and friends. And number 3, do some good every day. And if you can do all those 3 things, like the home run, hit it out of the park every day, what a way to live your life that is. Having fun, making good memories, and doing good. If you could do that every day of your life. And again, doing good can be just that. Thank you, a smile, helping with a chore somewhere, say, colleague at work, I'll do that for you. All those things are all in there. It hasn't got to be raised £10,000 or 10,000 rand, whatever, for a charity. That's great as well. But just do those things that will make a difference for someone else.
It's funny, isn't it, that we all know we should do that stuff. What you've had is a slap in the face to wake to. It's almost like it sounds like an awakening from nothing you've said is new to you. Like before you got diagnosed, you knew that was like, you weren't a bad guy, but by any stretch of the imagination, but you knew all this stuff to be true. And it's almost a shame that as humans, we need that size of a slap to actually go and say, right, now I'm going to start doing it. Because you had the choice beforehand. And
But that's what one of the many motivators I have today is the knowledge that if people listen to me now, some of them I would inspire to do those things now without having to have a terminal illness or something bad happen in their life. Just go and do it now. One of my favourite stories of inspiration is back in 2016 in my tent in the Marathon Des Sables. It was the best tent ever after that year. Just the combination of people, I didn't know any of them, but they were just amazing people individually. I met this guy called Nick, and Nick was 26 years old, a bit of a Duracell bunny, he was all happy. He said, yeah, Kevin, when I'm 30, I'm going to do this great thing. And when I'm 35, I'm going to do this. When I'm 40, I'm going to do this. And I sat there and I thought, the way that life goes, by the time you're 35, you'll probably be married with a massive mortgage and 2 kids, and you won't do it. So I said, look to him, I said, what are you waiting for? Just do it. Don't wait for a rubbish prognosis before you realise if you really want these things, you really, really want them, do it now. Anyway, end of conversation. About 6 months later, he phones me up, says, can we have a chat? And we stay in touch. I said, okay. And we meet up, and he says, right, I've listened to what you said, Kevin. I've packed in my job. He had a very, very good job, better than mine. Very good job. Packed in my job. I'm going to run a marathon in every country in the world.
Wow.
So that's what he did. So his name's Nick Butter, and he ran 196 marathons, one in every country in the world, because he wanted to, and then he said, can I do it for Prostate Cancer UK? So I said, wow, that's blown me away, because his only touch with prostate cancer was me. So he said, because I'm the one that inspired him, then I'd do it for prostate cancer. So he raised over £100,000 running a marathon in every country in the world. He's got a great book, I think it's called Running the World. And the book is fantastic because I never realised talking to him what dodgy situations he ended up in, like bribing people to get into countries, getting beaten up and mugged, getting guns put to his head because he was running in the wrong place, stomach issues, just trying to get onto planes. And, I think it took him like 600 odd days to do it. He wants to do it in 18 months, a bit longer, just because of all the logistics of, we can all think of the dodgy countries in the world. He had to go to all of those, even ones that weren't quite so dodgy, like Jamaica. He got there just on the day they were rioting. So they wouldn't let him run. So he ran around the compound of the British consulate. There's 196 stories in that book that are just fantastic. So to me, I'm so proud of that conversation because he's someone that wanted to do things. You just need to hear someone, happen to be me, say what you're waiting for. Since then, he ran the length of Italy, back in the last year. He's just ran around the coast of Britain in the UK. He's probably now about 32, I guess, but he's an awesome runner, fast, good-looking guy. All the things I'm not, just fantastic for what he does. Now doing it for his own. He set up a foundation called the 196 Foundation, where he's trying to raise money just to help, because he's got a unique view on things. He's run marathons he's been to every country in the world. Not many people have even done that, let alone run a marathon there. So he's kind of seen what's gone on, because most of these marathons weren't organised ones. They were just him on his own, running 26.2 miles. So he's seen stuff that most of us will never, fortunately, have to witness, because some of the things were quite harrowing that he witnessed. A great inspiration. But then I'm also inspired that people were saying to me, Kevin, I've just decided to couch for 5K. In the UK, we've got this thing called Couch to 5K, where it basically gets people off of the couch and gets them to a stage to run 5K. And it starts by a bit of walking, a little bit of running, walking, a little bit of running, and then builds up to a whole 5K. And, the amount of people who come back to me and said, I've inspired them to go to the next level of wherever they were, be it running or visiting people or cycling, or I don't cycle, but I've realised people often need permission. It's a strange thing in life, the idea that someone's got to tell them it's okay, especially people who've been through some grief. People who've lost a family member. They often feel they can't do things anymore. I had one chap contact me, his daughter died of brain cancer when she was 2. And he said, I always wanted to cycle Land's End to John O'Groats, which is the length of England and Scotland. And he said, but I haven't touched a bike since she died. And I thought about it, and I said, look, I don't believe in God or anything, but I do believe there's an afterlife. I can't tell you what it looks like, but I believe there is something. We have a spirit and energy, opposite reactions. So we exist in some form. And I said, therefore, if I'm right, your daughter is watching you. And, apologies for this, but if I was your daughter, I'd be really cross that my death has stopped you doing stuff. I want, her death should have inspired you to do stuff. Should have got you not less things, but more things. Anyway, I pressed the button to send them my email. And I actually did my work email as well, which is a bit dangerous because I could have upset him. And then nothing for 2 days. And then he came back and said, you're absolutely right, Kevin. I've got my bike out. I'm going to do this and this. And then he said, but would you mind if I did it for Children's Brain Cancer Charity rather than Prostate Cancer Uk? I went back to him and said, I don't care who you did it for. You don't owe me anything. I'm just, for me, I feel so good about the fact I've helped you do that. And I talk about prostate cancer a lot. And the thing about prostate cancer is if you catch it early, it's curable. So 82% men on diagnosis in the UK, I don't know what it's like elsewhere in the world, but 82% of men on diagnosis will be cured. And 18% won't be, they'll die at it. So for most, I was unlucky. By the time I had any symptoms, it was too late. Okay, so on the day of the symptoms, then it would have been too late. But for most men, if they go earlier, they get caught. So it's about awareness. So it's about men understanding that if they have this change below the waist, going to the toilet more, or if they've got a relative that's had it, or if they're black, they go to the doctors probably after the age of 40, 45. I had a friend, Lloyd, in the UK, no relatives, he's a white guy, got it at 44, died at 49. And then the NHS in England say, get tested at 50. What, we're going to get his ashes, are we? It's ridiculous. So in my mind, I'm passionate about, especially men in a higher risk group. My dad had prostate cancer. My doctor never told me or my dad that I was higher risk because of my dad. I would have gone earlier. I would have still got prostate cancer, but I probably would have been cured. I can't get cross about that. That's just the way it is. I know anger's a wasted emotion, but actually that kind of inspired me and said, I don't want more people to be where I am. I want people to make sure that if dad gets it, they tell their sons. If granddad gets it, they tell their kids and their grandkids. So they all know, come 40-something years old, they get tested. And the test is a bit rubbish at the moment, so it's not like as good as a breast cancer screening, say. So part of why I raise money is I want the testing to get better. I want it to be spit on a stick and it turns a different colour. Great, that's where you want it to be. Really easy, cheap, and everyone can do it every 6 months. That's what I want it to be.
So what's it at the moment? You wave your bum up in the air and wait for somebody to have a feel, or is that the sort of methodology? Or?
Exactly. The doctor's special handshake. They're actually trying to feel for something that doesn't feel right, but actually a lot of them don't know what they're trying to feel anyway. Because it's and I've learned, avoid doctors with chubby fingers and sovereign rings. Got a bit of humour in there.
That'll bring tears to your eyes.
The blood test you have, actually, the finger at the backside is probably 10% of it. Most of it is the blood test. And it's a PSA test, and you go and have that PSA test, and if the score's high, then it's possible you have prostate cancer. Men's prostates grow as they get older anyway. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just the way life is. That's why a lot of older men go to the toilet at night. I haven't got prostate cancer. I've just got a prostate that's just growing as it does for older men. But also a tumour on your prostate would also make it grow, and that would also make you go to the toilet at night, which is why that's the symptom. But I was unlucky. It's likely in my case, the tumour started on the far side of my prostate, not the side next to my bladder. And therefore, by the time I was going to go out for a wee, all of my prostate, literally 100% of my prostate was cancerous. So that's why it was too late for me. So that's why awareness. And people say it's a man's disease. This is where the ladies listening need to be understand this. Number one is, if you've got a partner, you'll be the one that notices they get out of bed a lot for a wee at night. You'll be the one. So you're the one that be saying to them, "Boy, go and see the doctor." So that's the first important role they have. And that also applies to their dads and brothers and granddads and mates at work. If they're talking about stuff and they hear this, "Oh yeah, I'm going to the toilet quite a lot," boom, because they might be saving their life. That's that simple thing of go to the doctor could be saving their life. And the other reason why I call it a family disease, not a man's disease, is because I get it easy. You know, right now, here I am, delighted to be on your show. Aren't you amazing, Kev? Thanks very much. British Empire, my board. Thank you very much. You know, thank you. And then one day I'm going to get really, really ill. I understand that. And then I'll get some lovely drugs that will take the pain away. And then I'll die. My poor wife, though, today, no one gives her any sympathy apart from me. If she's having a bad day, apart from me, no one says, don't worry about it. And then she's got to watch me go downhill. She's got to watch me. And then she's got to deal with life after me. And so has my daughter. And so have my sons. So that's why, to me, please don't ever think it's old man's disease, because, my daughter's 23. She's got to go through all the pain I'm going to go through, and worse afterwards, with no one giving her any apart from me.
So when the pain ends for you, it continues for other people. That's the very harsh reality.
Yeah, and so that's why I implore people to think about prostate cancer and to do what they can to sort of spread that awareness, because it's curable. And the other thing about it, cost, I understand that in every country the governments haven't got billions and billions of pounds to spend on everything. If you go and get tested early and they find you have prostate cancer, you'll probably be sorted out for like a couple of £1,000. It doesn't cost a lot to give someone some radiotherapy. It's quite cheap. But if it's spread, then you're on expensive drugs. I think the drugs I'm on cost £36,500 a year.
Wow.
I've been on for 6 years now. And that's just the drugs. That's not the doctor's time.
Nurses, medical facility, so on and so forth. Yeah.
All the scans I have as well along the way. That's just one drug that I take. And I take a bunch of drugs. So
there's guys, well, maybe hopefully families, that people are listening to this. And you say about changes beneath the waistline. You've mentioned some genetic markers, like if it's been in the family, if you're black by colour, the higher risk. What else would guys what else do they need to be aware of? Their mid-40s. What other sorts of changes beneath the waistline may they experience, that if they were to experience it, a very fast visit to the GP would be very sensible?
I think, for prostate cancer, one of the downsides is the only early symptom is going to the toilet.
Okay.
Only early symptom. That's why it's important to understand why you're high risk. But I know prostate cancer is my thing, but actually I care about everyone. So if you think about your whole body, if there's, as I said right at the start, any changes to your body, male or female, that you don't understand. So if I go and have 10 pints of lager tonight and tomorrow I don't feel very well, we know why I don't feel very well, don't we?
Yeah.
I have 10 pints of
Yeah.
I don't need to go to the doctors. But if I didn't have 10 pints of lager tonight and I ate normally and didn't feel well tomorrow and then didn't feel well the day after and didn't feel well the day after, and it's been 3 days of it and it's not having any sign of going away, I should go to the doctors.
Mm.
And if I'm uncomfortable in my stomach for, I have a bad back movement, should we say, and happens again, or certainly any blood ever in your poo or in your wee, only once, go to the doctor. Don't think, oh, see if it happens again. Sometimes when you have bowel cancer, stomach cancer, you only get blood once, and then it scabs over and it sorts itself out. It doesn't sort itself out, but just now it's just growing.
Mm.
So as it breaks through the wall, it creates a small bleed, but then it heals basically, and then now it's just growing inside you. So, no one wants that sovereign finger up the backside, I promise you. However, would you rather that? Would you rather be dying and having far worse operations and procedures and tubes out of every bit of your body you don't ever want to have a tube out of? Just go and have the easy thing done, go there and do two things. One, put your mind at rest, because I'm pretty sure 95% of the time it will be something it's either nothing or have a tablet, have a scan. No, it's all fine. Here's some pills, antibiotics, whatever. Cheerio, go away. But that 5%, again, no regrets. You don't want to be sitting there in a hospital bed thinking, why didn't I go? Why didn't I go? I heard Kevin speak on that podcast. I ignored him. I didn't go to the doctors. And now it's my fault. I'm in here. It's my fault I'm upsetting my family. It's my fault I'm spending all this money that maybe we haven't got. So you don't have that regret. Don't have that regret. Go to the doctors. And that's why you do yourself a favour by telling other people. I had a good friend, a business colleague, and client actually. And when I got ill, I told him my story, and I never heard from him again. And I thought, I thought he was a good friend of mine, sort of thing. But maybe I was just a supplier, customer bank. The king is dead, long live the king. He's got a new bank manager. Forget it. And then about 14 months later, I got an email from him, and it started. I'm really sorry I haven't emailed you 14 months, Kevin, but when I heard you speak, I had that symptom. I went to the doctors and I had prostate cancer. Because I was early, they cured me pretty quickly, painlessly. Said, but I didn't know how to contact you because I'm now going to live and you're going to die. And I didn't know how to say that. He said, but it's been in my mind, I want to tell you. And I went back to him and said, how good do you think it makes me feel that I might have saved your life? Don't feel embarrassed that I'm going to die. It's not your fault. You haven't done anything wrong.
Yeah.
But what you've done make my day better. You've made me feel if I've achieved something in this world. And I've lost count of how many times I had that email from different people now where they hear me talk. So I'm hoping you'll get people listen to your podcast and you'll be coming to you saying, I heard that podcast, I got tested for whatever. My husband had prostate cancer, could be a lady, and I thought, actually, I've got that lump. I went to the doctors, it's breast cancer, but it's sorted because I went when I did. So your podcast will save a life at least.
It's strange. I'm sat here, I'm heading towards my late 40s very quickly. And it's very hard. And I'm going to try and find the words the best I can, but it's, I notice my own body is changing. I'm not paranoid that I've got cancer or anything like that. It's not like I don't know what's that word where you go to the doctor for everything, where you're not really ill at all. Hypochondria, that's it. It's not that, but it's very hard to get, because I expect my body to be different at 47 to 37, right? Like that's a difference that I expect. I don't recover as quickly. Geez, Kev, 10 pints of beer when I was 37, I'd have a wonky morning. 10 pints of beer now, I'd be floored for 2 days. But it's very hard to then work out, like, what is that natural change that you'd expect to go through as I get older? And what is well, not unnatural, but what is like what's real alarm bells? And I'm listening to what you're saying, and I think that some of those alarm bells is like sudden, unrealistic, or unexpected change. That's what you're. It's not
sudden or gradual, because the problem is we don't know where we're going, do we? In terms of it, so some things are sudden, and for some things it creeps up on you, a bit like age. So cancer doesn't suddenly go from it doesn't exist to it's going to kill you tomorrow. It gradually grows, and some grow faster than others. Things like pancreatic cancer is terrible; it's very, very fast, an awful thing, almost uncontrollable. Whereas prostate cancer is slower, so you've got more time with prostate cancer, and that's why going early can resolve it for someone. So you don't expect it's got to be a bad thing. That's why I said pooing your blood once is enough. Don't think I'll wait till I'm second or third time, or a change in your poo regularly. Yeah, if you had a curry last night, of course you're going to have a change in your poo today. But every day. And then what happens, the danger is that becomes the norm. Oh, it's always like that. It never used to always be like that. That was the change. It gradually got worse, and now it's worse all the time. Don't think that's the norm. That's not the norm. Well, it is the norm, but it's the wrong norm. So I've got to a stage where I just love the opportunity to do this sort of thing. I love the fact that I might be helping someone somewhere. I wrote a book. A friend of mine whose dad died of pancreatic cancer, he said, you should write a book. And I said, no, I can't write a book. And he helped me write it in lockdown, which is quite a good use of lockdown. And so there's a nice plug for it here. There we go. It's called Dead Man Running.
Excellent.
And and it's about the 7 years. It's about what I just talked about, but in a lot more detail, of course, about where I was and why I was and what other people say about it and some of the things I've done. So again, I wanted to inspire people. You don't make any money out of reading, buying a book, writing a book anymore. But it's not about the money. It's about I want people to understand if average Kev, because I was just an average ordinary bloke with cancer, can do all this stuff. Well, most people out there hopefully haven't got cancer. What's stopping them? Just go and do it.
Yeah. So, Kev, assuming that your health gets no better and no worse, what are we going to be watching you do over the next 12 months? Do you have some dreams, some goals?
One of my challenges at the moment is insurance companies for ultra racing have all stopped insuring existing conditions. So in the past, I insure them, but I have to pay a higher premium or have a bigger excess. And simultaneously, they all seem to have stopped doing it. So I need to find. So I have, in addition to prostate cancer, the drugs I'm on give me a thing called osteopenia, which is bone disease. And I'm just on the scale, just like literally 0.1 on the scale. And so I've got another bone scan in 3 weeks' time. And if the answer of that, I'm hoping, comes back that I haven't got osteopenia anymore because I've been taking a load of drugs for it, then that's great. Because I'm not worried about prostate cancer. It's such a slow cancer for me. If I'm healthy today and I go on a plane, it won't kill me the next month. It won't affect me in the next month. So I don't mind if they won't insure me for that. But I need to not have osteopenia, because if I fell over and broke my leg, the insurance company would say, this could get osteopenia. The fact that anyone would have broken their legs is irrelevant. Insurance companies being what they will all claim it's only because I had osteopenia.
Yeah.
So I need to not have osteopenia. So it's a bit of a scary 4-week, 5-week wait till I get the results, because that will change my plans. That will stop me from being an international nutcase to having to find nutcase races in the UK. But that's the way it is. There's, again, no point getting upset about it. No point having regrets about it. It is where it is. The wasted emotion, my final thing, I guess, to people is when they're very old, so deathbed or maybe before, they won't ever look back on their life and say, I wish I spent more time watching telly, wish I spent more time being sad, crying, being on my own, being miserable, doing nothing. They won't say that. Getting back, wish I spent more time on Instagram or Facebook. No one's going to say that. I wish I'd posted, when I was like 25, I wish I spent more hours at home posting on Facebook, liking things. They will not say that. But they might say, I wish I spent more time keeping the friends I already had. How many of us have lost friends? I've lost friends just because I didn't put the effort in to pick up the phone to them, not text them, pick up the phone to them. How many people say, I wish I spent more time doing good for others? Wish I'd gone out and seen more things, done more things, spent more time with my family. So if you believe that, then that's, again, part of what I want to inspire people to do is just do less of the former. I know we're all going to go on Instagram sometimes. We're all going to watch telly sometimes. I understand that. But actually, it's reducing that a bit and doing more of those other things. Rather than watching some telly you don't want to watch, pick up the phone to your dad, your mum, your brother, your son, your best mate of old, and just have a chat with them. They probably fall off their chair because you phoned them up, but just do it. Because, again, don't create a new regret. Why are you not doing it? Or, it's important to me to watch telly tonight, or is it important to you to keep a friend? I know where I go.
Kev, thanks so much for your time, mate. I just want to say thank you. And I want to thank you for getting out of bed that day after chemo and going and deciding to go running again, because I don't think I'd be sat here talking to you today if you hadn't made that decision. And so I just want to thank you for going running again. Everything else after it is literally a consequence of that one decision. And if that one decision can inspire other people to get off their backside and go do something useful, no matter what their circumstances, something beneficial for themselves and the world, I think that's miraculous in and of itself. So thanks for making that decision. If people want to come and follow you, hang out with you, support you, go running with you, what's the best way to do it?
The best thing, I guess, is find me on Facebook. I accept all friends as long as they're not women who want me to marry them and stuff. Facebook is find me. Kevin Webber, and you'll find me, and that's fine. And then I'd say what I'm doing. So.
Awesome. Well, I'll share the links to that, to Prostate Cancer UK, and to your book in the link below. Kev, thanks so much, mate. And if you've got the energy and enthusiasm, let's see if we can have another rerun of this in 6 months' time and see where you are and what adventures you've been having. There's more than enough running in the UK to fill anybody's lifetime. Even if your bones aren't doing what they want to be doing, the NHS will still be there for you.
Exactly. Thanks very much.
Cheers, mate.